I truly believe that this country has to slow itself down a little bit. Too many people are saying that America is on the decline. The visuals, the statistics, the fighting, it's all impossible to ignore.
You must disperse immediately.
I want to fix it, don't you? Let's start by looking at what's positive and promising and successful. I invite you to take an adventure with me. Let's make it our mission to prove the naysayers wrong. Let's explore the country we know exists. Let's meet the world's greatest people. Let's showcase America the beautiful. We live in a digital world. Like it, love it, or hate it, we live in a place where digits, ones and zeros, are calculated all around us. Everything is going digital. Everything is the touch of a button. The days of slow have gone away. Everything is nonstop, nanoseconds. I want to tweet, you want to tweet. What are we going to message? All right, I'll be there in a second. We're moving at such a rapid pace. Every time you log in, log out. Every time you send an email, get a text. Every time you make a phone call, check out a website. It is all this digital landscape that is all around us that is changing the way that we live, the way we operate. It's changing the meaning of the word community. And I believe it is having a greater negative impact than the media or anybody really wants to recognize. Dr. Nick Carderas appeared in a movie I did called Digital Destruction. Listen to what it is that he has to say about the digital landscape to which we operate.
Yeah, so I've spent the last few years giving talks around the country and around the world actually about what I'm calling the intersection of a clinical epidemic with the digital age. And what we're seeing is that things like depression are skyrocketing in the digital landscape. Adolescent suicide rates have doubled in the last 10 years in the social media age. Episodes of school shootings are skyrocketing. Every metric for mental health is spiking. So in this recent 10 to 15 years, which happens to coincide with video games, iPhones, social media, we're seeing more and more clinical distress. And there's research that correlates and causally shows that a lot of this clinical distress is a byproduct of, let's call it the overstimulation, the hyperaggression, the hypnotization, the addiction, the self-esteem, the emptiness, the shallow, the cultural landscape is in a crisis right now, and a large part of it is the digital landscape that we've been all swimming in.
iPhone, iPod, I this, I that. Sure, we may be connected digitally, but we have never been more disconnected. Just look at the concept of team sports. Look at kids in sports. It's on the decline. Here's another decline. Community. Today, communities are based on your Facebook page. Oh, I belong to that online group. But do you really belong to anything? Whatever happened to the concept of community in America? That Norman Rockwell painting, where the white picket fences lined up down the road. Community got together on Saturdays and Sundays. You got together at the beach club or the church. Everybody bought a cake or something. Community is being withered away. There's a comedian out there, he talks about it all the time. It's a great joke. He says, back in the old days, when we'd have somebody knock at the door, it would be, hey, come on in. And you'd make them coffee and cake, and you'd invite them into the home. We haven't seen you in so long. It's a comedian named Sebastian. He does it fantastic. But he talks about it today. When somebody knocks on your door today, it's peek around the wall. Who is it? Did you know somebody was coming over? We are so isolated. We are so individualized. We are no longer the community we once were. All of it is having an impact. The increase in suicides, increases in drug use, increase in loneliness, especially among older adults. It's all increasing. We are all now caught up in the digital horrors that are making the world what it is. We have to do something. We have to bring back the sense of team and community, and most importantly, family. Because it starts at home. Family, then team, then community. Whichever way you want to put that dynamic together, those 3 points are the triangle that we need to fit back into the United States of America. When we launched out on the journey to make America the Beautiful, I wanted to feel something different. I wanted to go across this beautiful country, and I wanted to capture not just its aesthetic beauty, but its inner beauty, the beauty of people, the people we don't get to hear from on a daily basis, but the people who have a lot to offer and so much to say about team, community, and family. I wanted to slow down. I wanted to stay away from that digital disease, that vortex of zeros and digits. I wanted to just drive down a country road and find a place where I could just rest, enjoy everything that's around me, not feel like I was in such a rush. I wanted to feel that part of America that I know is still there, and I found it in South Carolina. Long Creek, South Carolina, to be exact.
Oh, fire. He's putting out a fire. It's a fire. He's practicing. They're practicing. Check this out. This is what they're doing.
The population of Long Creek, South Carolina, well, it's 429 total people. There are just 17 people per square mile. As we were driving around, we saw this man. He was standing up on a hill by a garage. We stopped. We pulled the car around, and we saw this unbelievably beautiful barn. It's the photograph behind me. We took a picture of it. And I said, I have to meet the man who owns this barn. And we went up to him, and he wasn't taken back. He didn't rip out his gun. He didn't scream. He didn't say, hey, I'm too busy for you. He shook my hand. I asked him if he'd go on camera. He said, no, I'd rather not. I asked him about the area, what it was like. And you know what he said to me? He said, it's a great community here. Big on family. Really? He said, yeah. I said, I guess you don't know who I am. I said, I have a podcast. He looked at me like, what's a podcast? I said, yeah, I got a big following on Facebook. He says, I don't use Facebook. Just a very simple man in a very simple place. Oh, so America.
So this guy, about 100 acres he has. All of his family, his uncles, his grandmother. He didn't want to go on camera. His uncles, everything. They bought all this property for $3,800. $3,800. And he says, they've all lived here. It's generational. See, get a shot. See? But he's auto mechanic. Says he can fix anything.
It was truly a test. If I put a message out on Facebook, and it wasn't something negative, it wasn't something political, it didn't bash this politician or that politician, it didn't bash this party or that party, it didn't champion for this policy or poo-poo on another policy. I just went in and said, hey, if you want to be part of a Team DML, if you want to be in a part of a meet and greet, and meet me for some pizza, come to Long Creek, South Carolina. I didn't know how many people were going to show up. Could I even get a few people out of the 429 folks who live in Long Creek? I was astonished.
destination is on your right. 14239 Long Creek Highway.
Oh, is it that up there?
Right.
Oh, humble pie, right there. Top right.
Oh my god, it's DML! Oh my god!
Danny, this is all on film. You can't say this.
Sound bites, Ashley. That's what it's all about.
Oh, Dad, they've been waiting so long for you.
Come on, let's go.
We were running so late. We were late. We had gotten lost, and everything on our schedule had been backed up due to inclement weather and not really knowing how to drive that RV. And I called one of the people that were there at the pizza parlor waiting. We were up to 2 hours late. And I said to the woman who I was talking to, I said, I hope that nobody has left. The woman at the pizza parlor said, we see nobody leaving, and they're all talking to each other and having a great time. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She says, with the pizza parlor, we've never had this many people here on a Thursday night.
Sorry I'm late. Okay, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Nice to meet you. Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Nice to meet you.
It's really nice to meet you, Lydia. Nice to meet you, Lydia, from Atlanta. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Ashley. It's nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Ashley. It's nice to meet you. Ashley.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm George. I would have warmed up, but I
David, nice to meet you.
I bet you guys are. Hi, how are you?
Oh, yeah.
Just a little.
Three of my grandchildren. Alex, Joseph, and Matthew.
It was a fun road to drive down.
Did you guys eat yet or no? Yeah, you're a little late.
Yeah.
We're going to watch you. Lynn, nice to meet you.
John Turkey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Glenn. John Sanders. Hey, John. Nice to meet you. Krista. Hey, Krista. Nice to meet you. All right, we'll see you later.
People want to be part of a team. They want to feel a purpose of something. They didn't need to be on their phone. They didn't need to be on the computer. They didn't need the digits. All they needed was to say hello. The old interaction, face to face, a meet and greet. And here's the thing. The stress that we had been feeling in that RV as we traveled, that we were going to be so late for these people. We weren't on time. We weren't going to make it. We were just caught up in this digital swamp that we have found ourselves in. A real team, a real community. They don't measure you by how early or late you are. They measure you by how sincere you are, how much love you convey.
Hi, Paul Monosalski, originally from Brooklyn, New York.
And the spelling is Solski.
And now living in Somerville, South Carolina. And came to be a supporter of Dennis Lynch and his family. Wonderful people doing the right thing for our country and everybody else.
Too bad there's not more like him.
That's for sure.
When I was a kid, I would turn on the news to hear what was going on. The truth, not what they wanted me to think. I don't have to like the story, but just tell me the truth. Unbiased. Let me make my own decisions. That's gone.
It was time to take the next part of our Long Creek adventure. Whitewater rafting in Long Creek, South Carolina.
So welcome to Wildwater. This area, just so you have a little bit of a history of Long Creek and this specific place, this is the old Long Creek Academy. It's pretty awesome. Today we're going to be on the Chattooga River. This river is known as the site of Deliverance, where Deliverance was filmed, one of the 3 rivers. It is, I know, right? That's always something fun.
We're not going to do any of that stuff, are we?
No reenactments of Deliverance.
No reenactments?
Yeah, definitely no Deliverance reenactments. But it is a beautiful river. Because of its beauty, because of Deliverance even, people started to recognize it. So on May 10th, 1974, they declared this a wild and scenic river nationally. which means several things. One is that we have to walk to get into the river, at least a quarter mile from any road. Only like 3 or 4 places can you cross over it on a bridge. One of them was Highway 76, which y'all crossed over coming in. So when you cross the state line, the river is the state line. And the river is the state line from where it comes out of North Carolina.
I noticed it on the GPS.
Yep, until it gets into the Savannah River after going through about 5 lakes and goes through Savannah, Georgia. I think y'all were there 2 days ago, or y'all were going there?
No, we were there.
As we're going down rapids, there are a few rapids where we will need full participation.
Yeah. So you said some of the ride will just be a nice leisurely sort of ride.
Yep.
And then now when we get to the wild water, if you will, I've seen some of the videos. What kind of level? Are we in a level 2, level 3, level 4?
So our big rapid today, we'll have one, is a class 4.
Okay.
And in a raft, I would call it a class 4 minus.
Okay.
So it's it's easier in a raft than it is in a kayak or a canoe.
Okay.
But it's still a class 4. There still are potential consequences that could happen. This river is considered
such. You see how he skipped over that part?
Well,
the consequences, comma, are.
Well, we never make promises. I mean, people, of course, have drowned on this river.
Right.
That is a super rare occasion. Yeah. And most of them were not in this talk beforehand.
Yeah.
And so we're going to prepare you against all of the most common things that would cause a drowning.
Right.
And as long as you don't do those things, your chances of surviving go way up. One mainly, and I'll talk about it later as well, it's called foot entrapment. It happens when you try to stand up in the river. Your foot may, and I say may because some people stand up in the river all the time, but it may get lodged underneath rocks that are together about like this, creating a crack. And if the current pushes against you, even these life jackets can only stay up for so long. There are snakes. Just be aware of snakes. Basically, don't mess with them. They generally don't mess with you. If you step on one, good thing you are all wearing booties. So
snakes in the water?
There could be. And y'all do know how to tell a snake in the water, at least in this area, if it's poisonous or not.
No.
If it floats on top of the water, it's more likely to be poisonous. If it's like swimming in the water, it's just a water snake.
Trey has a college degree in theology, but Trey put his diploma on the sidelines because he realized that being with his family and being outdoors and loving what he does was so much more important. Trey is one of the smartest people I've met in a long time.
Yeah, so the folks that work for Wildwater that live here in Long Creek, which most of them have worked for a rafting company at some point or another local business, they're some of the smartest people that you'll find. You know, high IQ levels, great testing scores. More or less, they're the success stories in school, and sort of some of them are considered disappointment stories to their families because of what they do. But for us, we see this as a way to connect with the most amount of people in a beautiful place and make them aware of what we do and who we are, and just show them something bigger than themselves.
So, I mean, so a guy like yourself, well-educated, high IQ, although I reserve my right to say that until you bring me back.
Well, I didn't say I was self-describing. I just said that I was, that's some of the folks here, describing the general population.
So that assuming you get me back in one piece, you know, why do this instead of something else that may pay more money or maybe more in line with what you studied in school?
One, I want to live in a place that generally makes me feel good about what I do and gives me the opportunity to have plenty of time with my young family, to spend time with my wife. And you know, my wife and I go swimming at the river after work quite often, or we go hiking or mountain biking. But the other reason is ever since I can remember, I've wanted to run a family camp, something where families can come to relate to each other, to get to know each other better. And then I realized that my job at Wildwater, I could do that there. That they were already more positive after leaving, but that if I used my training and my knowledge, and then I also did some studying about family dynamics, that I could do all of that here successfully. What you're seeing right here is going to be the stretch that my dad brought me up to learn how to kayak and learn how to raft. And so it's not just something that I do for work. It also has a pretty deep emotional connection to my father.
Is your father still alive?
Not only is he still alive, he also works for Wildwater and is guiding a raft for us today on another stretch of river.
How great is that to be able to work with your dad?
Most of the time it's pretty all right.
Yeah? And the downside? Because my son behind you is listening.
I mean, the downside is just that it's still a family. Not only do I work with my dad, my father-in-law is the CEO of Wildwater.
Okay.
So I work with all of my family that I see on a regular basis, and the bond that we have because of what we do and where we work is pretty indescribable. It makes up for a multitude of sins, so to say.
Sure.
And sin being a really loose word, I wouldn't say that I was in any way like abused or anything. It's just, a lot of the family disagreements that you might normally have are overlooked when you're used to being in such a pretty place. But this is my favorite stretch of water. Some of the stuff that we're going to see today is more beautiful than I've seen in various other countries. It's just an awesome place.
I want you to slow down for a moment. I want you to just take this ride with us. Take this ride with my immediate family, my son, my daughter. Just sit back and put yourself in the raft with me. Put yourself in that raft with your kids, or your husband, or your wife, or somebody else you love, a team. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at the dots and the digits and all the noise around. For the next 10 minutes, just sit back and watch and enjoy and savor every single last minute. Don't get engaged in a chat. Just take in the beauty of the river and rest and slow down.
All forward, guys. And paddle high five. Way to go.
America is a beautiful place. Long Creek is long on beauty. And as I go down this river, with my son and I see my daughter ahead, and I meet my new friend Trey, and I take in all the different sounds and the smells and the glistening of the sun on the water as we are challenged and to conquer anything that is in front of us. Whether we're flowing calmly or trying to get through the rapids. There's a different feel here. This is life. This is the way it can be.
You know, as a society, we carry a lot of negativity. We bring a lot of negativity along with us. And when it comes to negativity, probably the thing that builds it up the most is we have too high of a view of ourselves. You know, a lot of people blame it on the media, or they blame it on, you know, the way that they grew up. But in the end, it's all a personal choice to carry negativity or not to carry negativity. And it really comes down to you just having the audacity or the bravery or even the honesty with yourself to just say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm just going to be positive. I want to be a good person. And I think as people, we are attracted to things that create a lot of emotion. The news, the things we talk about at the church fellowship hall, or the things that we talk about with folks in the morning at breakfast are who died, who was shot. We don't focus as much on the, and those are extreme, you know, who's sick, that might be a slightly less one. We don't choose to focus on the things that are better in general, on the things of life that are exciting, on the person who's taking the exciting trip. In fact, even when we focus on the good stuff, we just get jealous at the person who's experiencing the good. You know, which creates even more negativity associated with it. So when we hear positive stuff, we get jealous. We don't choose to celebrate that. You know, I hate to bring it back to personal choice, but no matter how far out you take it, it really does. It comes back down to, you know, we're feeling jealous, or we get excited when we hear about somebody who's hurt, or, you know, we were talking about this morning, we choose to idolize people, or, you know, make people, whether it's the over-sexualization of the culture or whatever you want to call it, you know, we choose to make people and to make people more than what they are. We choose it in the end.
I usually say the same thing you said. I say it a little differently. So, you know, when you're on the highway and you see the traffic jam, it's not because everybody's stopping to take a look at the roses. Yeah. It's because, you know, somebody got hurt. So I agree with you. We're attracted to drama. We're attracted to pain and suffering. And maybe there is no solution for it, but a lot of people talk about how the country is very divided, more so than ever before, or at least that's the spirit of the conversation. And so I'm wondering, you know, from your perspective, as a guy who seems to take things very balanced and more concerned with staying positive than negative, when you see the other stuff going on in the country, in the world, what do you see solving that?
You know, as a person, other than through or maybe my religious perspective, like what I see that actually combats negativity that we don't value highly enough as a society is actually getting really good, legitimate rest. And by rest, I mean going to places that, you know, are peaceful. Not watching TV, you know, because TV it's meant to make money, so they're going to show negative stuff. But just going to places that are negative, reading books that are positive, not even necessarily positive thinking books, but books that make you think well, books that make you travel to different places, create imagination. It's when we stop and breathe for a second that we actually start to comprehend the positive things of life, and we start to think about the positive things of life. So outside of maybe my personal religious conviction or beliefs, I would say that not resting probably breeds as much negativity as anything else in this world. Not getting just really good, solid rest.
You got a little girl.
Yep.
When she gets older, are you going to keep her from the television set?
You know, I don't believe in, at least with my daughter as she's growing up, you know, a lot of people have asked, what about digital media? What about cell phones? What about TVs? Taking people out of that environment doesn't actually help us to learn. but showing her how to come on the water and how to use her phone for good, maybe to record a fun moment, and to actually come out here and to teach her those things is important. Not letting her be so distracted from the experience, though, that she can't even experience it. Sort of like the whole rest thing is out here. This is a place of rest. If you're constantly looking at your phone, you're not resting. You know, if you're constantly worried about what your friends are saying on Facebook or Instagram or any other form of social media, like, you're not getting that rest, that experience that's necessary, not just for our minds or our bodies, it's actually necessary for our souls. You know, our souls need good rest.
Politically, when you and I first talked, you had said that this place had a concentration of people who wouldn't necessarily watch Fox News. So that leads me to believe that there's more liberals here than there are conservatives, or they're just people who just won't watch television. It could really be chalked up as two different ways. But there's a lot of political divide.
Yep.
And that tends to get worse. It's either you love a politician or you hate a politician. There's no middle ground. And what do you think is driving that? And do you see that here? Or do you guys just stay away from the whole political chat?
Yeah, as much as I would love to stay away from politics personally, and we around here, at least in our community of outdoor enthusiast raft guides, if you're sincere in that, you don't actually have enough time to focus on the politics or focus on watching television. You just don't see as much of it. As far as the political divide, which we experience it as much as anybody else, I have vastly different beliefs than my fellow guides, political beliefs. But once we sit down without getting angry and start talking about stuff honestly, for instance, my wife and I, we fostered a girl for a period of time, which, you know, everybody should take time and just spend time with other people who might not have what you have. But we fostered this girl, and our only rule with her was that you have to be honest. Even when you are explaining your feelings, don't get angry, just be honest. If we're honest, we can fix problems, we can win the world, we can do whatever we want to, as long as we're honest. You know, because then we know how we're relating to one another. And honestly, once we experience somebody being honest with us, we're more likely to be honest with them, and we're also going to recognize their value as human beings. And as soon as we recognize that value, political differences don't make as much of a difference because we're all humans.
Yeah, but what happens when you start having that political divide? When you say build the wall and they say don't build the wall, and you go back and forth and back and forth, how does it come to a conclusion? You just both everybody agrees to disagree?
On some instances, we just have to agree to disagree.
Mm.
You know, we look at that, and, well, one thing, the world has a way of recreating itself. Here in America, it's called an election. Every 2 to 4 years, there's the potential for change. And so for some things, they are just going to happen. Not that we shouldn't be vocal about them, not that we shouldn't be honest about our opinions, but sometimes things happen that we don't like, and we still have to accept that. That's sort of why I work out here, because we realize that there are bigger things out there, way more important things than that person's political belief. You know, we talk about walls today, perhaps. You know, when I was growing up, abortion was one of the biggest dividers. Again, the belief that I differ with folks on vastly here. But the thing about it is that's not what unites us. What unites us is their passion and love for the outdoors. So we choose to focus on that passion and not focus on the divisive things. And that allows us to trust each other with our lives on a daily basis.
One of the things Trey said to me was that he sees less people every year coming down the river. I said, why is that? He says, because they're not getting enough thrill. We've made it so this way you need a thrill. There's got to be a rapid every 2 seconds. He says, if that's the one complaint we hear, Oh, there's not another rapid? And he told me the story about one young man who complained to his father about the river ride down in Long Creek, the same river ride we took. He said, the dad asked him, Joey, what do you think of this? And Joey says, oh, Dad, I'd rather go to Six Flags. Let's just go to Six Flags. And Trey said, you know, the father said to me, we went to Six Flags a couple of months ago. He says, we stood in line for hours. He says, I think we got on 6 rides that lasted all about 1 minute each. Trey said, yeah, well, now you get to go on this ride for 2 hours. He said, I wish my son would appreciate it more. I don't know how you fix that, but I'll just say this. 24 million people go to Six Flags every year to stand on long lines and go on a roller coaster that lasts, well, for what, a minute? And yet only 24,000 people went down that river last year, according to Trey. The ride, the instant gratification, the speed of it all, overshadowing the beauty of just sitting back and relaxing a little. Maybe that's why the country feels so upside down.
Honestly, what I can't get over, and like it happened on the swamp the other day too, is just like the quietness. Like obviously you hear like the water running and everything, but just like it's like it's in its own little world.
Yeah, and I hate to say that it's patterned, but in just a little bit there will be a spot where we'll probably be quiet for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because it's a calming area. This whole area is, but that specific spot on the river, it makes you want to just rest.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that this country has to slow itself down a little bit, to just slow down a little and take in everything around us. Don't get trapped into those digits. Don't live your life through the 6 inches in front of your face. It's beautiful out there. You just got to give it a chance. I enjoyed Long Creek. I hope to visit it again. It was a place where I felt community like I hadn't felt it in a long time. And I got to work with my family and the great team of Trey and those at wildwaterrafting.com. Team, community, and family.
Oh, you're fine, Danny.
America's beautiful. Go live it.